Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to our special Bookaccino live fall preview evening program. We're going to be let's start that over. Welcome, welcome everyone to our special Bookaccino live fall preview evening program. We're going to be showing books releasing from September 9th through the end of the year. So we're extending fall a little bit on either side, but we figured this will be a good way for us to get a lot of the really big books that are coming up through the rest of the year because, oh my gosh, there is so much coming out. So with no more ado, let me get started. We're going to start with fiction as we usually do. And we're leading off with Ellen Hilderbrand's new book called The Academy, which she wrote with her daughter, Shelby Cunningham. I just had the pleasure of reading this weekend, and it is a completely fun and interesting book about what happens at Tiffin Academy. So let's back up. It's move-in day at Tiffin Academy, and America Today just rated Tiffin the #2 boarding school in the country. It's a 17 spot jump. Was there a typo? The dorms need to be renovated. Their sports teams always come in last place. And let's just say Tiffin students are known more for being social than being academic. On the other hand, the campus is exquisite and they do have fun with lots of parties and school dances. But just as the rarefied air of Tiffin is suffused with self-congratulation, the wheels begin to turn, and then they fall off the bus. As one by one, scandalous blind items begin to appear on phones across Tiffin's campus, thanks to a new app called ZipZap. I just think it's so funny, ZipZap. And nobody is safe. And as the year unfolds, bonds are forged and broken, secrets are shared and exposed, and the lives of Tiffin's students and staff are changed forever. So it's definitely a page turner. I will share that with you. And the people who create Zip Zap makes it even more fun as the book goes on. Just really, it's a fun like kind of way to kind of wrap up summer, let's say. Next, we've got The Wilderness by Angela Fornoy. This is out this week from Mariner Books. Desiree, Danielle, January, Monique, and Akia are all in their early 20s and at the beginning of their careers, of marriage, of motherhood, and of big city lives in New York and Los Angeles. Together, they're finding their way through the wilderness, that period of life when the reality of contemporary adulthood, overwhelming, mysterious, and full of freedom and consequences, swoops in and stays. As these friends move from the late 2000s into the late 2020s, from young adults to grown women, they must figure out what they mean to one another amid political upheaval, economic, environmental instability, and the increasing volatility of modern American life. So there you've got the wilderness. And if you can think about it, when you were in your early 20s, did it feel like you were plunging out into the wilderness? Many times I would say so. Next, from Ian McEwan, who you know is the author of Atonement, we've got What We Can Know, coming on September 23rd. We start in 2014. At a dinner for close friends and colleagues, renowned poet Francis Blundy honors his wife's birthday by reading aloud a new poem dedicated to her, A Corona for Vivienne. Little does anyone gathered around the candlelit table know that for generations to come, people will speculate about the message of this poem, a copy of which has never been found and remains an enduring mystery. So let's go way ahead to the year 2119, just over 100 years in the future. Much of the Western world has been submerged by rising seas following a catastrophic nuclear accident. In the waterlogged south of what used to be England, Thomas Metcalfe, a lonely scholar and researcher, longs for the early 21st century as he chases the ghost of one poem, A Corona for Vivienne. When he stumbles across a clue that may lead to the elusive poem's discovery, a story is revealed of entangled lives and a brutal crime that destroys his assumptions about people he thought he knew intimately well. So there we've got What Can We Know? And my gosh, thinking ahead to 2019, I'm not sure. I don't need to go there yet. Next, we've got Heart the Lover by Lily King. This is the September top library reads pick and October's #1 indie next pick, and it's coming out on September 30th. In the fall of her senior year of college, our narrator meets two star students from her 17th century lit class, Sam and Yash. The boys invite her into their intoxicating world of academic fervor, rapid fire banter, and raucous card games. They nickname her Jordan, and she quickly discovers the pleasures of friendship, love, and her own intellectual ambition. But youthful passion is unpredictable, and soon she finds herself at the center of a charged and intricate triangle. As graduation comes and goes, choices will be made which will alter these three lives forever. Decades later, the vulnerable days of Jordan's youth seem comfortably behind her. But when a surprise visit and unexpected news brings the past crashing into the present, she returns to a world she left behind and must confront the decisions and deceptions of her younger self. And you know Lily as the New York Times bestselling author of Writers and Lovers. Got to get my hands on this one. Next, from Jan Karen, we haven't heard from her in a while. We've got My Beloved, which is another Mitford novel. This is the long-awaited 15th installment in Jan Karen's Mitford series. When Father Tim's wife, Cynthia, asks what he wants for Christmas, he pens the answer in a love letter that bears his most private feelings. Then the letter goes missing and circulates among his astonished neighbors. So much for private. Can a letter change life? Ask Colleen, the piano teacher who has avoided her feelings for a lifetime. Ask Hope, the village bookseller who desperately needs something that's impossibly out of reach. Or if you'd like to know how to brush with death can be a portal into a happy marriage, Cynthia will tell you all about it. In My Beloved, Harley gets an important letter of his own. A broken heart teaches the old mayor, Esther Cunningham, a lesson that's been a long time coming. And thanks to Lace and Dooley, readers get what they've been wanting and waiting for, Sadie. So there you go. This is coming on October 7th. Next from Mitch album, we've got Twice, also on sale on October 7th. The tagline for this is, what if you got to do everything in your life again? When he's 8 years old, Alfie Logan discovers the magical ability to get a second chance at everything. He can undo any moment and live it again. The one catch, he must accept the consequences of his second try, for better or worse. Eventually, Alfie turns his gift to his love life, studying his crushes and going back to make himself more appealing. In time, he falls deeply in love with Gianna, a woman who he believes is the one. He seems to find contentment, but as the years pass, Alfie's eye begins to wander, which is when he learns a lone caveat to his power. Once he undoes a love, that person can never fall in love with him again. Knowing that if he gives in to temptation, he will risk losing what he has with Gianna, Alfie makes a choice that changes his life forever. So there you've got Twice. Next, from Nicholas Sparks, who is writing this time with M. Night Shyamalan, we've got Remain, a supernatural love story, which is coming on October 14th. When New York architect Tate Donovan arrives in Cape Cod to design his best friend's summer home, he's hoping to make a fresh start. Recently discharged from an upscale psychiatric facility where he was treated for acute depression, still wrestling with the pain of losing his beloved sister, Sylvia's deathbed revelation that she can see spirits who are still tethered to the living world, a gift that runs in their family, sits uneasily with Tate, who struggles to believe in more than what reason can explain. But when Tate takes up residence at a historic bed and breakfast up on the Cape, he encounters a beautiful young woman named Wren, who will challenge every assumption he has about his logical and controlled world. When Tate and Wren find themselves forging an immediate connection, but Tate gradually discovers that below the surface of Wren's idyllic small-town life, hatred, jealousy, and greed are festering, threatening their fragile relationship just as it begins to blossom. So we've got something very different from Nicholas Sparks with Remain. Next, we've got The Land of Sweet Forever from Harper Lee, and we know her as, come on, we can all say it together, the author of To Kill a Mockingbird. The Land of Sweet Forever combines Harper Lee's early short fiction and later nonfiction in a volume that offers an unprecedented look at the development of her inimitable voice. covering territory from the Alabama schoolyards of Lee's youth to the luncheonettes and movie houses of mid-third century Manhattan. The book invites still vital conversations about politics, equality, travel, love, fiction, art, the American South, and what it means to lead an engaged and creative life. This collection comes with an introduction by Casey Sepp, Harper Lee's appointed biographer, which provides illuminating background for our reading of these stories and connects them both to Lee's life and to her two novels, To Kill a Mockingbird and Go Set a Watchman. It's on sale on October 21st. Next, from Salman Rushdie, we've got The 11th Hour. It's a quintet of stories. It's on sale on November 4th. Salman Rushdie turns his extraordinary imagination to life's final act with a quintet of stories that span the three countries in which he has made his work: India, England, and America. In the South, introduces a pair of quarrelsome old men and their private tragedy at a moment of national calamity. The musician of Kahani, a musical prodigy from the Mumbai neighborhood featured in Midnight's Children, uses her magical gifts to wreak devastation on the wealthy family she marries into. In Late, the ghost of a Cambridge dawn enlists the help of a lonely student to enact revenge upon a tormentor of his lifetime. Oklahoma plunges a young writer into a web of deceit and lies as he tries to figure out whether his mentor killed himself or faked his own death. And The Old Man on the Piazza is a powerful parable for our times about freedom of speech. So there you've got The 11th Hour. Next, we've got Ladies in Waiting, Jane Austen's Unsung Characters. This is coming on November 4th, and it's in honor of Jane Austen's 250th birthday. 9 authors: Adrienne Trigiani, Sarah MacLean, Eloisa James, Eleanor Whitman, Audrey Belezia, Karen Duquesne, Emily Harding, Nikki Payne, and Diana Quincy have come together with wildly imaginative reboots of the lives of several of Austen's minor characters. Written with plenty of love and wit, these clever stories star everyone from Pride and Prejudice's snobbish Caroline Bingley to the modern descendant of Sense and Sensibility's Eliza Williams, and much more. Blurring genres and taking us across the oceans, Ladies in Waiting is a heartfelt celebration of Jane Austen and her timeless masterpieces. And this is just a note to our editorial director, who I know is listening in. We should do something on reading group guides in honor of the 250th and feature her books. Just see, guys, this is how we do our brainstorming. In the middle of presentations, we come up with ideas. So when you see that, you know where that idea came from. Next, we've got Some Bright Nowhere by Anne Packer, coming also on November 11th. Eliot and his wife Claire have been happily married for nearly 4 decades. But eight years after Claire was diagnosed with cancer, the end is near, and it's time to gather loved ones and prepare for the inevitable. Over the years of Claire's illness, Eliot has shifted into the role of caregiver. But as he focuses on settling into what will be their last days and weeks together, Claire makes an unexpected request that leaves him reeling. In a moment, his carefully constructed world is shattered. What if your partner's dying wish broke your heart? How well do we know the deepest desires of those we love deeply? As Eliot is confronted by this profound turning point in his marriage and his life, he grapples with the man and husband he's been and the great unknowns of Claire's last days. So there we've got Some Bright Nowhere. Next, we've got some historical fiction. Starting out with Ken Follett's Circle of Days. You know him as the author of Pillars of the Earth. It's coming on September 23rd. Seft, a talented flint miner, walks the Great Plain in the high summer heat to witness the rituals that signal the start of a new year. He is there to trade his stone at the midsummer fair and to find Neen, the girl he loves. Her family lives in prosperity and offers Seft an escape from his brutish father and brothers within their herder community. Joya, Neen's sister, is a priestess with a vision and an unmatched ability to lead. As a child, she watches the midsummer ceremony enthralled and dreams of a miraculous new monument raised from the biggest stones in the world. Trouble's brewing among the hills and woodlands of the Great Plain. Joy's vision of a great stone circle assembled by the divided tribes of the plain will inspire Sefton become their life's work. But as the drought ravages the earth, mistrust grows between the herders, farmers, and the woodlanders, and an act of savage violence leads to open warfare. So there we have Circle of Days. Next, we've got I Am You coming from Victoria Reddle. This is coming on September 30th, and we will be having one of our fall reading dedicated contests about this book that will probably happen on September 30th. You'll have to keep an eye on this. Love this cover because it's so interesting. At 8 years old, Gerda Peters is forced to disguise herself as a boy and sent to work for a genteel Dutch family. When their brilliant and beautiful daughter Maria sees through Gerda's ruse, she insists that Gerda accompany her to Amsterdam and help her enter the elite, male-dominated art world. Maria rises in the ranks of society as a painting prodigy. Gerda makes herself invaluable in every way: confidant, muse, lover. But as Gerda steps into her own talents, their relationship fractures into a complex web of obsession and rivalry, and the secrets they keep threaten to unravel everything. I started reading this book. It's so interesting because I'm not somebody who usually is looking for history that's happening during that time frame, but this is so well done. I was really interested. I can't wait to be able to have time to pick it back up. Next, from Elmore Leonard, we have Picket Line, the last novella, coming on September 30th. This never before published novella is the first major release in nearly a decade from the late Elmore Leonard. Chino and Paco Rojas seem well-mannered, at least for Chicanos, to the white cops who pull them over for littering on the long drive from California to Trinity, Texas. So well-mannered, in fact, that Captain Frank McClellan lets them off with a warning and recommends them a job at Stanzik Farms, the largest independent melon grower in the area. But Chino is looking for a mysterious man, Vincent Mora, whose New Valley Agricultural Workers Association is causing a scene, striking against the farm owners. Stanzik's Fields and Mora's Union bring together a cast of unlikely characters. Some are neighbors, others just passing through. Some know each other well, or at least they thought they did, before the picket lines. Next, from Philippa Gregory, we've got Boleyn Trader coming on October 14th. Jane Boleyn watches from the shadows of the Tudor court, where secrets are currency. Every choice is dangerous, and even the faintest whisper can seal the fate of queens. For Jane, survival depends on playing every role required of her: a loving wife who conceals her doubts, a devoted sister to Anne Boleyn at the height of her power, an obedient spy who carefully wields her words. But in a court ruled by ambition and tyrant's sword, Jane must rely on her sharp wit and skill for maneuvering to outthink those around her, knowing that one wrong move could cost her everything. So look for this on October 14th. Next, we've got The Wayfinder by Adam Johnson, and you may recall him as the Pulitzer Prize-winning author of The Orphan Master's Son. This is another book. I just got this today. This is a very deep book, very thick book. So be prepared when it comes on October 14th. Talking corpses, poetic parrots, and a fan that wafts the breath of life. This is the world that young Carrero finds himself thrust into when a mysterious visitor lands on her island, a place so remote that its inhabitants have forgotten the word for stranger. Her people are desperate and on the brink of starvation, and the wayward stranger offers them an impossible choice. They can remain in the only home they've ever known and await the uncertainty to come, or she can join him and venture into unfamiliar waters, guided only by the night sky and his assurance of a bountiful future in the kingdom of Tonga. What Carrera people don't know is that the promised refuge is no utopia. Instead, Tonga is an empire at war and on the verge of collapse. Together, the stranger and Carrera embark upon an epic voyage, one that will deliver them either to salvation or to the depths of the Pacific. So there we've got the Wayfinder, and that's really a stunning cover when you pull back and look at it. Next, we've got Last Call at the Savoy by Brissa Carlton. Jodi Pico has said, lift a cocktail to this debut, and I do agree. It's on sale on November 4th. 6 years ago, Cinnamon Scott was a young writer on the rise in New York City. But since the sudden loss of her parents, she's been stuck in place, retreating to a life of endless partying, made possible by the massive future she's inherited. Despite their tragic loss, she and her older sister, Rosemary, have always had each other to lean on. But now Rosie's living in London and she's about to give birth to twins, and Cinnamon feels more lost than ever. As Rosie's put on bed rest, Cinnamon flies to her sister's side, where she's temporarily living at the Savoy. Immediately swept away by the beauty and history of the legendary hotel and its famed American bar, Cinnamon finds ample opportunity to distract herself. When the late shift bartender tells her the story of Ada Coleman, the woman who crafted the cocktail recipes that the Savoy popularized in its famous handbook a century ago, Cinnamon is inspired by the bartender's vivid stories of Ada's fearlessness and can't understand why Ada's name is nowhere to be found. So there you've got Last Call at Savoy. Something to know is that Brissa actually has a line of vodka that she's created that you can actually purchase to bring to your book group events. And we're going to be talking about not only how she got started in cocktails, but her long history of being in the theater when I talk to her closer to this book's release. Next, from John Irving, we've got Queen Esther coming on November 4th. Another big book, folks. Esther Knack is born in Vienna in 1905. Her father dies on board the ship to Portland, Maine. Her mother is murdered by anti Semites in Portland. Dr. Larch knows it won't be easy to find a Jewish family to adopt Esther. In fact, he won't find any family who will adopt her. When Esther is 14, soon to be a ward of the state, Dr. Larch meets the Winslows, a philanthropic New England family with a history of providing foster care for unadopted orphans. The Winslows aren't Jewish, but they despise anti Semitism. Esther's gratitude for the Winslows is unending. Even as she retraces her roots back to Vienna, she never stops loving and protecting the Winslows. In the final chapter, set in Jerusalem in 1981, Esther is 76 years old. So here we've got his latest, Queen Esther. Next, we've got thrillers and mysteries, and there are a lot of them. We're going to start out with a book that was out last week called All This Could Be Yours by Hank Philippi Ryan. It is so much fun. It's one of my bets on selections. We just posted an interview with Hank. It was one of our fall reading books, and it's one of our word of mouth selections. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means in a little bit. So here we've got debut sensation Tessa Calloway is on a whirlwind book tour for her instant bestseller, All This Could Be Yours. In a different city every night, Tessa receives standing ovations from adoring fans, while her husband Henry and their two children cheer her on from their brand new dream home. But there's a chilling problem with Tessa's triumphant book tour. She soon discovers she's being stalked by someone who's obsessed not only with sabotaging her career, but also with destroying her perfect family life back home. Tessa fears that the fallout from an impossible decision she once made, what felt like a genuine deal with the devil, appears to be coming due. And she's realizing every high stakes bargain comes with a high stakes price. If Tessa can't untangle who she's threatening to expose her darkest secrets, she'll lose her career, her family, and possibly her life. And what is really fun about this is Hank took things that scenarios that happen when you're on book tour. We always think, oh, it's so fabulous that an author goes on book tour. And she talks about the alarm going off at 4 o'clock in the morning so you can get the 6 a.m. flight to get to where you need to be. And she talks about ordering, food because all of a sudden you're going to be starving and you're walking in with your salad in your hand because the signing is over, but you still haven't eaten and you've gotten to your hotel. And one of my favorite things is she always does carry-on luggage. Some reason I could never be a best-selling author because I could never travel that light. And she has her outfits that she wears for travel and her on-stage looks. So it's really, really a fun book because if you ever wonder what really happens on book tour, it's there. It's propulsive, a twisty, and wholly absorbing thriller, says Nita Prose, and I completely agree. I really enjoyed reading it. Next, from Mick Herron, we've got Clowntown. He's the author of Slow Horses, which, if any of you were watching the Emmys the other night, saw just won some awards. And this is on sale now. David Cartwright has left his library to the Spooks College in Oxford, and now one of his books is missing. Perhaps it never existed. River, once a slow horse of Slough House, MI5's outpost for demoted and disgraced spies, starts investigating the secrets of his grandfather's library. Over at the park, MI5 desk Diana Taverner is in a pickle. An operation carried out during the height of the Troubles laid bare the ugly side of state security, and those involved are threatening to expose details. But every threat hides an opportunity, and Taverner has come up with a scheme. Jackson Lamb, the enigmatic and odoriferous head of Slough House, has no plans to send in the clowns. On the other hand, the clowns ignore his instructions. Any harm that befalls them is hardly his fault. But they're his clowns. And if they don't all make it home, there will be a reckoning. So there we've got Clowntown. Next, we've got The Grave Artist, which is by Jeffrey Deaver and Isabella Maldonado. Sorry, I'm doing Deppers. This is like not my knife for pronunciation. Maldonado. This is out now. A wedding reception is coming to a close in the Hollywood Hills when the blissful day is shattered by the death of one of the newlyweds. Though the incident appears to be an accident, Homeland Security Investigations agent Carmen Sanchez and her partner, security expert Jake Herron, discover that the tragedy is the third in a series of similar deaths, includes something far more sinister is at play. The two uncover chilling evidence pointing to a serial killer who has taken evil to the next level. Dubbed the honeymoon killer, this man isn't interested in his victims, but in creating his own macabre masterpiece from their graves, focused on the survivors and reveling in their grief. And now his dark obsession has turned to Carmen and Jake. The honeymoon killer has decided they are the perfect next target. Take one out and delight as the other crumbles. Time is running out as a deadly game between predator and prey begins. That would sound The Grave Artist. Aha, do we remember this name? Remember Dan Brown, the author of Da Vinci Code? Well, he's back with The Secret of Secrets, which is on sale now. It just went on sale last week. Robert Langdon, esteemed professor of symbology, travels to Prague to attend a groundbreaking lecture by Catherine Solomon, a prominent noetics scientist with whom he has recently begun a relationship. Catherine is on the verge of publishing an explosive book that contains startling discoveries about the nature of human consciousness and threatens to disrupt centuries of established belief. But a brutal murder catapults the trip into chaos, and Catherine suddenly disappears along with her manuscript. Langdon finds himself targeted by a powerful organization and hunted by a chilling assailant sprung from Prague's most ancient mythology. As the plot expands into London and New York, he desperately searches for Catherine and for answers. In a thrilling race through the dual worlds of futuristic science and mystical lore, Langdon uncovers a shocking truth about a secret project that will forever change the way we think about the human mind. Keep in mind, folks, this is another really big book, and I'm not just talking about popularity. I'm talking about, I think it's 700 pages. So be ready to buckle down with Dan Brown and The Secret of Secrets. I can't remember how long it's been since he had a book out, but I know it's been a long while. Next, we've got Grey Dawn from Walter Mosley, which is also coming this week. The name Easy Rawlins stirs excitement in the hearts of readers and fear in the hearts of his foes. His success has brought him a thriving detective agency with its first female detective, a remote home shared with children and pets and lovers, high atop the hills overlooking gritty Los Angeles, and more trouble and more problems and more threats to those whom he loves. In other words, he's still beset on all sides, folks. Number of below-the-wall power brokers plead with Easy to locate a mysterious, dangerous woman, Letitia James, though she's gone by another name that Easy will immediately recognize. 1970s Los Angeles is a transient city of delicate violence balances. Letitia has disturbed that. She's also got a secret that will upend Easy's own life painfully close to home. There we've got Gray Dawn. Or looks like a new writer. There we go. Next, from Paul Levine, we've got Midnight Burning, which is out this week. It's one of our fall reading titles. In fact, if you want to enter the contest to win this, the contest is open until noon on Thursday. So after this event, you can jump out on the site if you want to enter to win this. 1937, clouds of war gather over Europe, and American fascists march at home. While the FBI chases suspected communists, Nazi agents plot an armed insurrection. The world's two most famous men, Albert Einstein and Charlie Chaplin, uncover the scheme, which includes the assassinations of Hollywood's biggest stars. They fight back with nothing but their ingenuity, raw courage, and the fierce resolve of Georgia Ann Robinson, the LAPD's first Black female officer. A dangerous chase takes our heroes into the heart of darkness, a fascist encampment in the San Gabriel Mountains north of Los Angeles, where a militia armed with machine guns plans its attack. It's brains versus brawn in an explosive, unforgettable finale. And it's really interesting because Paul discovered the story that the two of these men were friends. And I actually listened to an interview with him that he did this afternoon. And it was so interesting. And from there, he constructed like how the story would have evolved. So it's an Einstein Chaplin thriller. Think about the two of them together. Not something you would really, put there all the time, but it, totally works when he puts it together. Next, from Claire McIntosh, we've got Other People's Houses, also on sale this week. The Hill is the kind of place where everyone wants to live. It's luxurious, exclusive, and safe. But now someone is breaking and entering these Cheshire homes one by one, and D.S. Leo Brady suspects that the burglar is looking for someone or something in particular. Over the border in Wales, D.C. Fionn Morgan recovers the body of an estate agent from the lake. There's no love lost between her and the estate agents, but who hated this one enough to want her dead, and why? As their cases collide, Liam and Leo discover that people will pay a high price to keep their secrets behind closed doors. The tagline is you want what they have, well, what price would you pay? So very interesting. Next, we've got The Impossible Future from Richard Osman, which is coming on September 30th. It's been a quiet year for the Thursday Murder Club. Joyce is busy with table plans and first dances. Elizabeth is grieving. Ron is dealing with family troubles. And Ibrahim is still providing therapy to his favorite criminal. But when Elizabeth meets Nick, a wedding guest, asking for her help, she finds that the thrill of the chase is ignited once again. And when Nick disappears without a trace, his cagey business partner becomes the gang's next stop. It seems the duo has something valuable, something worth killing for. Joyce's daughter Joanna jumps into the fray to help the gang as they seek answers. Has someone kidnapped Nick? And what is this uncrackable code they keep hearing about? Plunge back into action once more. Can the four friends solve the puzzle and a murder in time? So we've got the latest in a Thursday Murder Club mystery. Next, we've got Pictures of Him by Claire Leslie Hall. Is that name ringing any bells to you, Claire Leslie Hall? Okay, let's tell you that this book was previously published as Him under the pseudonym Claire Epson. Still not drawing any lines for you? Okay. Claire Leslie Hall is a New York Times best-selling author of Broken Country, and Pictures of Him is one of the two books that she wrote before Broken Country that Simon & Schuster has actually published for the first time in the United States. So, Catherine lives on an enviable normal life with her loving husband Sam and their two children, but many parts of her past are shrouded in mystery. When a former flame resurfaces, something inside of Catherine gives way, releasing a flood of trauma that she thought was buried long ago. Lying in the hospital after a complete breakdown, language eludes Catherine. As her fragmented memories of her university days sharpen, the threads of her past and present start to coalesce. She's transported back in time to her love affair with Lucienne, a charismatic and complicated artist with whom she shared a passion that was destined to end in tragedy. 15 years after the fateful end of their romance, Catherine must finally confront the offense that brought her to crisis, while the fragile pieces of her life begin to shift and threaten to shatter. So there we have pictures of him. Next, we've got The Hitchhikers by Chevy Stevens, another author who we haven't heard from in a while. And Desperation is a Dark Road is the logline on this one. It's coming on October 7th. Summer of 1976, and Alice and Tom set out on a remote Canadian highways in their new RV, hoping to heal their broken hearts after a devastating tragedy. Plan the trip perfectly and have taken care of every detail. And then they meet two young hitchhikers down on their luck and offer them a ride. But Simon and Jenny aren't what they seem. They left a trail of blood, destruction, and madness behind them. Now Alice and Tom are trapped, prisoners in a deadly game with nowhere to turn. The tension builds, the lines blur, and the question becomes, in whose heart does evil truly lie? What secrets are Jenny and Simon hiding, and who will live to another day? So there you've got The Hitchhikers. Next, from Patricia Cornwell, we've got Sharp Force, also coming on October 7th. During the early hours of Christmas morning, Chief Medical Examiner Dr. K. Scarpetta receives a chilling call. The phantom slasher has struck again. The serial killer has terrorized Northern Virginia for months. His pattern is to stalk with a sophisticated technology that enables him to invade his victims' homes and watch their every move. They wake up to a ghost-like hologram before being murdered in their beds. Scarpetta is summoned to Mercy Island, the site of a notorious psychiatric hospital, where two people have been brutalized, one of them from Scarpetta's past. It soon becomes apparent that she could be the next. So there we've got Sharp Force. Now we've got a very unique pairing with Reese Witherspoon and Harlan Coben writing together in Gone Before Goodbye. It's coming on October 14th. Upside down after a devastating series of tragedies leads her to her medical license being revoked. Army combat surgeon Maggie McCabe has lost her purpose, but not her nerve or her passion. At her lowest point, she's thrown a lifeline by a former colleague, an elite plastic surgeon whose anonymous clientele demand the best care money can buy, as well as absolute discretion. Halfway across the globe, one of the world's most mysterious men requires unconventional medical assistance. Desperate, and one of the few surgeons in the world skilled enough to take this job, Maggie enters his realm of unspeakable opulence and fulfills her end of the agreement. But when the patient suddenly disappears while still under her care, Maggie must become a fugitive herself, or she will be the next one who is, hold for the line, everybody, gone before goodbye. So there you go. Does anybody see the movie coming or the limited series? I think I might. Next, we've got King's Sorrow from Joe Hill coming on October 21st. Arthur Oakes is a reader, a dreamer, and a student at Rackham College, Maine, renowned for its frosty winters, exceptional library, and beautiful buildings. But his idle and burgeoning romance with Gwen Underfoot is shattered when a local drug dealer and her partner corner him into one of the worst crimes he can imagine, stealing rare books from the college library. Trapped and desperate, Arthur turns to his closest friends for comfort and help. Together, they dream up a wild, fantastical scheme to free Arthur from the cruel trap in which he finds himself. Wealthy, irrepressibly calm Wren suggests that using the unnerving Crane Journal, bound in the skin of its author, to summon a dragon to do their bidding. But there's nothing simple about dealing with dragons, and their pact to save Arthur becomes a terrifying bargain in which they must choose a new sacrifice for King Sorrow every year or become his next meal. So there we've got King Sorrow. Next, from Michael Connolly, we've got a Lincoln Lawyer novel, The Proving Ground, also October 21st. Following his resurrection walk and the need for a new direction, Mickey Haller turns to public interest litigation, following a civil lawsuit against an artificial intelligence company whose chatbot told a 16-year-old boy that it was okay for him to kill his ex-girlfriend for her disloyalty. Somehow I could actually see this happening, which is like terrifying. Representing the victim's family, Mickey's case explores the mostly unregulated and exploding AI business and the lack of training guardrails. Along the way, he joins up with a journalist named Jack McAvoy, who wants to be a fly on the wall during the trial in order to write a book about it. But Mickey puts him to work going through the mountain of printed discovery materials in the case. McAvoy's digging ultimately delivers the key witness, a whistleblower who's been too afraid to speak up. The case is fraught with danger because billions are at stake. So there we've got our latest Lincoln lawyer novel. Next, from John Grisham, we've got The Widow. It's coming on October 21st. Simon Latch is a lawyer in rural Virginia, making just enough money to pay his bills while his marriage slowly falls apart. Then into his office walks Eleanor Barnett, an elderly widow in need of a new will. Apparently, her husband left her a small fortune, and no one knows about it. Once he hooks the richest client of his career, Simon works quietly to keep her wealth under the radar. But soon her story begins to crack. When she's hospitalized after a car accident, Simon realizes that nothing is as it seems, and he finds himself on trial for a crime he swears he didn't commit: murder. Simon knows he's innocent, but he also knows the circumstantial evidence is against him, and he could spend the rest of his life behind bars. To save himself, he's got to find the real killer. And remember, this description uses that line that we see a lot with thrillers: nothing is as it seems. Just keep that line in mind, folks. Next, from Louise Penny, we've got The Black Wolf, which is on sale on October 28th. Several weeks ago, Chief Inspector Armand Gamache and his team uncovered and stopped a domestic terrorist attack in Montreal, arresting the person behind it, a man they called the Black Wolf. But the relief is short-lived. In a sickening turn of events, Armand has realized that the plot was just the beginning, perhaps even a deliberate misdirection, one he fell into. Something deeper and darker, more damaging is planned. Did he in fact arrest the Black Wolf, or are they still out there? Armand is appalled to think that his mistake has allowed their conspiracy to grow, to gather supporters, to spread lies, manufacture enemies, and feed hatred and division. Still recovering from wounds received in stopping the first attack, Armand is confined to the village of Three Pines, leading a covert investigation from there. And there you've got The Black Wolf. Next, from Nelson DeMille and Alex DeMille, you have The Tin Men. And actually, Nelson DeMille passed away a year ago. I believe it's tomorrow. And he was writing this book with Alex. Alex has gone ahead and finished it. And I was really honored that Alex asked me to do his first event with him at the Barnes & Noble Upper West Side on October 28th for the book. And it really means a lot that he's asked me to do this. Army CID Special Agents Scott Brody and Maggie Taylor team up for their toughest assignment yet. They are dispatched to Camp Hayden to investigate the death of Major Roger Ames, the chief scientist in charge of the top secret war games being conducted between a platoon of Army Rangers and a fleet of lethal autonomous weapons. Brody and Taylor find themselves at ground zero of the next generation of warfare, and they must untangle the complex web of alliances, animosities, and secret agendas among the men and women of the isolated facility. In a place cut off from the world and exposed to the harsh desert elements, everyone is a suspect. Brody and Taylor must uncover layers of deception to find the hidden hand behind the murder of Major Ames and the real purpose of the activities at Camp Hayden and its terrifying arsenal of next generation weapons. So there we've got The Tin Men. Next, we've got The Lady on Esplanade. It's a Royal Street novel, which is coming from Karen White on November 4th. Nola is ready to focus on starting over in the Big Easy. She wanted to get back to work on the renovations of her Creole cottage, and she's eager to launch a new murder house flipping business with contractor, closet psychic, and part-time nemesis Bo Ryan. After a near-death ghostly encounter and the return of Bo's missing sister, they are confident that a ghost of his mother can finally rest. Noah believes the shotgun house on famed Esplanade Avenue is a prime fixer-upper for her first project. It may have been the site of a woman's murder and the disappearance of an entire family, but the house would have to be perfect for her new-to-town Cooper Ravenel, who happens to have caused Nola's first heartbreak. That's the least of Nola's worries, though, in addition to the elusive spirit of an angry young woman who accompanied Cooper to New Orleans, the house on Esplanade has its own ghosts, including one that is becoming increasingly dangerous as he tries to hide his dark secrets. And what's fun is Karen actually went to school down in New Orleans. And as a result, she said she felt like she had to move her stories to a different place. And that was the perfect one because she knew so much about the city. So there we've got The Lady on Esplanade. Next, we've got The Perfect Hosts coming from Heather Goodenkoff on November 4th. Madeline and Wes Drake have invited 200 of their closest friends and family to their sprawling horse ranch, for the most anticipated event of the year, a Pistols and Pearls gender reveal party so sensational it's sure to make the headlines. But the party descends into chaos when the celebratory explosive misfires, leaving one woman dead and a trail of secrets. Somehow, just an aside here, I feel like I might have seen this at least once on some TikTok or some other video about a gender reveal. But we're sure no one has ever been killed before, but hey, totally possible. So as the aftershocks of the bloody party ripple across the small town, Agent Jamie Saldano is brought on the scene to investigate. Battling his own demons from the past, Saldano unearths a web of deceit spun around the Drakes. The appearance of some unexpected house guests only deepens the mystery. And tensions mount. It becomes clear that the explosion wasn't just an lucky accident. But who was the target and why? It's coming from Park Row on November 4th. Next, we've got Lee Child and Andrew Child writing Exit Strategy, coming on November 11th. Jack Reacher will make 3 stops today, and not all of them were planned for. First, a Baltimore coffee shop, seat in the corner, facing the door, black coffee, 2 refills, no messing around. A minor interruption from 2 of the customers, but nothing he can't deal with swiftly. As he leaves, a young guy brushes against him in the doorway. Instinctively, Reacher checks his pocket, holding his cash and his passport. No problem. Nothing's missing. Second, store to buy a coat. Nothing fancy. Something he can ditch when he heads to warmer climates. Large enough to fit a man with the size of a bank vault. As he pulls out his cash, he finds something new in his pocket. A handwritten note. A desperate plea for help. Third, wherever this bend in the road takes him, impressed by this guy's technique and intrigued by the message, Reacher makes it his message to find out more. So there we've got Exit Strategy. Next, from David Baldacci, Nash Falls, also November 11th. Nash is an intelligent man, tough but fair-minded. He has a wife and a daughter in a very high-level position, Sybardic Investments, where his innate skills and dogged tenacity have carried him to the top of the pyramid in his business career. However, following his estranged Vietnam veteran father's funeral, Nash is unexpectedly approached by the FBI in the middle of the night. They have an important request to become their inside man to expose an enterprise that is laundering large sums of money through Sybartic. At the top of this illegal operation is Victoria Steers, an international criminal mastermind that the FBI has been trying to bring down for years. Nash has little choice but to accept the FBI's demands and try to bring Steers and her partner to justice. But when Steers discovers that Nash is working with the FBI, she turns the tables on him in a way that he never could have contemplated. So there we've got Nash Falls. From Gilly Macmillan, we've got The Burning Library. It is coming on November 18th. On a frigid, windswept day in Scotland's Western Hebrides, Eleanor Bruton's body is discovered on the shore. To her family, Eleanor was an ordinary middle-aged woman, but little did they know that she was harboring a dark and all-consuming secret. A scrap of fraying embroidery that seems worthless at first glance. Over a century, 2 rival organizations of women have gone to deadly lengths to secure the valuable artifact in hopes of finding the original medieval manuscript from which it was torn, the Order of St. Catherine and the Fellowship of the Larks. When Dr. Anya Brown garners international attention for her translation of the cryptic Folio 9, She is handpicked by Diana Cornish, a professor and high-ranking member of the fellowship, to join the exclusive Institute of Manuscript Studies at St. Andrews. Unbeknownst to Anya, she's been recruited at great personal danger to translate ancient texts that the fellowship believes critical to their mission. So this is a deadly rivalry, a chilling secret, one woman who can decipher the truth. From Kathy Reichs, we've got Evil Bones coming November 18th. Told you folks, this was a big fall. Small creatures, a rat, a rabbit, a squirrel, have been turning up throughout Charlotte, North Carolina, mutilated and displayed in a bizarre manner. But one day, as Temperance Brennan is relaxing at home alongside her aimless, moody great niece Ruthie, she's diverted by a disturbing call. The perp is upping the ante. The find could be human. Tempe visits the scene and discovers that the victim is a dog. As one who has always found animal cruelty abhorrent, Tempe agrees to help apprehend the person responsible. She acquires an equally outraged ally in a semi-retired homicide detective, Erskine Skinny Slidell. Then a woman is found disfigured and posed in a manner that mimics the animal killings. Subsequently, people Tempe cares about begin to go missing. It's clear she's being taunted. The target in a sick game that has her and Slidell racing against a ticking clock and facing a terrifying question: what is pure evil? It's a pretty cover, just because it's turquoise, folks. Next, we've got Revenge of Odessa, coming from Frederick Forsyth with Tony Kent. It's coming on November 18th. Revenge of Odessa is the long-awaited sequel to the 1972 thriller classic, The Odessa File. 50 years after revealing the secrets of Odessa, an underground organization of former Nazis angling to regain power, Peter Miller is a retired legend in the journalism community. He spent the last decade caring for his grandson George after the death of his son and daughter-in-law in a tragic accident. By 2025, Odessa has been replaced by Medusa, which has reached a level of secret power greater than Odessa ever achieved. Its every long-term plan nearing fruition. The subtle rise of the far right in German politics, dozens of seemingly unconnected patriotic parties growing across Germany's constituent states and districts, the spike in violence and terrorism against Germany's immigrant population, and the angry reaction of her citizens, all are symptoms of a man-made hidden danger fuel for a planned inferno that must be stopped at all costs. There we've got Revenge of Odessa. Next, we've got the award coming from Matthew Pearl. This is a novel coming on December 2nd. David Trent is an aspiring novelist in Cambridge, Massachusetts, trying to navigate his ambitions in a place that has writers around every corner. He lives in an apartment above a very famous author named Silas Hale. Beneath his celebrated image, Silas is a bombastic, vindictive monster who refuses to allow his new neighbor even to make eye contact with him, until young David wins a prestigious award for his new book. Suddenly, Silas is interested, if intensely spiteful. But soon the administrator of the award comes to David with alarming news, forcing the writer into a desperate set of choices. Fate intervenes with shocking consequences. So there we have the award. Okay, so we've got some memoirs, biographies, and other nonfiction, which are typically big at this time of year. And we're going to start with Elizabeth Gilbert's, which is on this Gilbert's latest, which is on sale now. It's Oprah's latest book club pick. It's called All the Way to the River: Love, Loss, and Liberation. In 2000, Elizabeth Gilbert met Rhea. They became friends, then best friends, and then inseparable. And when tragedy entered their lives, the truth was finally laid bare. The two were in love. They're also a pair of addicts on a collision course towards catastrophe. What if your most beautiful love story turned into your biggest nightmare? What if the dear friend who taught you so much about your self-destructive tendencies became the unstable partner with whom you disastrously reenacted every one of them? And what if your most devastating heartbreak opened a pathway to your greatest awakening? That all happens in this book to Elizabeth Gilbert. Next, we've got the Book of Sheen by Charlie Sheen on sale now. Charlie Sheen should not be allowed to write this book. But in the Book of Sheen, the movie and TV star has defied the odds, finally presents his story in his own words. He broke into the movies in the 1980s, playing a hoodlum in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, a young soldier in Platoon, ethically compromised trader in Wall Street. Somewhere along the way, despite a successful transition to TV leading man in Spin City and Two and a Half Men, he descended into a vortex of extracurricular activities. Now sober, Sheen delivers a clear-eyed narrative of his highs and lows with humor, candor, and a vivid, captivating writing style that is uniquely his. The Book of Sheen reads like a far-fetched, oversized novel of Hollywood life, yet it's all true. From Lee Child, we've got Reacher, the story before the stories. After making his debut in 1997's The Killing Floor, Jack Reacher has quickly become one of the most popular and most enduring fictional heroes to emerge in the past half century. Now his creator tells the stories behind the stories. These are the origin tales of all of the Reacher novels written solely by Lee Child, chock full of colorful anecdotes and intriguing inspirations. And Afterward by crime fiction expert and bookseller Otto Penzler considers the importance of the character in novels in the canon of contemporary crime fiction. In addition to the essays, this collection includes an original Reacher short story, the first new Reacher appearance since entirely written by Lee Child since 2019, when his brother actually was co-writing with him and has been taking over writing the series. Next, we've got The Unexpected Journey by Emma Hemming Willis, finding strength, hope, and yourself on a caregiving plan. The day Emma Hemming Willis's husband, Bruce Willis, was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia, FTD, all they were given was a pamphlet and told to check back in a few months. With no hope or direction, Emma walked out of that doctor's appointment frozen with fear, confusion, and a sense that her world had just fallen apart. In fact, it had. Bruce and Emma had their story written, their future mapped out. Yet all those dreams crumbled with that diagnosis, and Emma felt alone and more isolated than ever. How could she care for her husband while parenting their young daughters? With Unexpected Journey, Emma has written the book she wishes she'd been handed on the day of Bruce's diagnosis, a supportive guide to navigating the complicated, heartbreaking, and transformative experience that is caregiving for your loved one. And what's really interesting is recently she announced that Bruce is actually living in a separate home nearby them. She and her daughters go down to have meals with him, but they feel like she felt that raising her children, she wanted to have them living in an environment where there wasn't someone ill at home. 107 Days by Kamala Harris is coming on September 23rd. It's accompanied by a 15-city tour. Okay, here's what we've got. Your Secret Service name is Pioneer. You are the first woman in history to be elected Vice President of the United States. On July 21st, 2024, your running mate Joe Biden announces he's not seeking re-election. The presidential election will occur on November 5th, 2024. You have 107 days. 107 days takes you inside the race for the presidency, as no one done before. They've got 107 days. Next, we've got Awake by Jen Hatmaker, a memoir. At 2:30 a.m. on July 11th, 2020, Jen Hatmaker woke up to her husband of 26 years whispering in a phone to another woman from their bed. Yes, picture that one, 2:30 in the morning, folks. It's the end of life as she knew it, and in the months that followed, she went from being a shiny, funny, popular leader to a divorced wreck on antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds, parenting 5 kids alone with no clue about her own bank accounts. Having led millions of women for over a decade, urging them to embrace authenticity, find radical agency, and create healthy relationships, this seemed nothing less than total failure. In Awake, she shares for the first time what happened when she found herself completely lost at sea and how she made it to shore. It's really interesting. I listened to this on audio. If you're up for it, doing that, it's really when she has some of the people who helped her along the way, her father, her friends, some therapists, they actually come on and narrate those portions of the book that make it even a more full story. And we've got Softly as I Leave You by Priscilla Ballou Presley, Life After Elvis. Priscilla Presley's divorce from Elvis left his fans incredulous. From the outside, life with Elvis's mansion looked glamorous and enviable. But inside the mansion, her husband was constantly surrounded by a male entourage, while at the gates, lines of beautiful women waited hopefully for an audience with the king. The time she was 17, that life was all Priscilla had known. During her 10 years with Elvis, it became painfully aware that she had no idea who she was outside of Elvis's world. The only way to find herself was to leave that world and seek a new life on her own, because leaving was the only way to survive for herself and for her daughter. Softly as I Leave You is a deeply personal story of what Priscilla lost and what she found when she walked away from the man she loved. Future Boy by Michael J. Fox and Nell Fortenberry, coming October 14th. In early 1985, Michael J. Fox was one of the biggest stars on television. His world was about to get even bigger, but only if he could survive the kind of double duty unheard of in Hollywood. His days were already dedicated to rehearsing and taping the hit sitcom Family Ties. But then the chance of a lifetime came his way, and soon he committed his nights to a new time travel adventure film being directed by Robert Zemeckis and produced by Steven Spielberg, Back to the Future. His nightly commute from the soundstage of Paramount to the backlot of Universal Studios, from one dream job to another, would become his own space-time continuum. Future Boy tells the remarkable story of playing the two landmark roles at the same time. Using new interviews with the cast and crew of both projects, the result is a vividly drawn and eye-opening story of creative achievement by a beloved icon. From Susan Orlean, we've got Joyride, also coming October 14th. It's a magic carpet ride through her life and career, where every day is an opportunity for discovery and every moment holds a potential for wonder. Throughout her storied career, her curiosity draws her to explore the most ordinary and extraordinary of places, from going deep inside the head of a regular 10-year-old boy for a legendary profile, The American Man Aged 10, to avoiding on a woman who owns 27 tigers, from capturing the routine magic of Saturday night to climbing Mount Fuji. Orlean takes us through her process of dreaming up ideas, managing deadlines, connecting with resources, chasing every possible lead, confronting writer's block and self-doubt, and crafting the perfect lead, a Susan specialty. So there we've got Joyride. Then from Malala Yousafzai, we have Finding My Way, coming on October 21st. Thrust on the public stage at age 15 after the Taliban's brutal attack on her life, Malala quickly became an international icon known for bravery and resilience. But away from the cameras and crowds, she spent years struggling to find her place in an unfamiliar world. Now, for the first time ever, she takes us beyond the headlines. Finding My Way is a story of friendship and first love, of anxiety and self-discovery, of trying to stay true to yourself when everyone else wants to tell you who you are. In it, she traces her path from high school loner to reckless college student to a young woman at peace with her past. Through candid, messy moments like nearly failing exams, getting ghosted, and meeting the love of her life, she reminds us that real role models aren't perfect, they're human. I think that's something really important to keep in mind. Dead or Alive by Zadie Smith's coming on October 28th. It's a new collection where she brings her unique skills as an essayist to bear on a range of subjects that have captured her imagination in recent years. She takes a close look at artists. Okay, I'm not going to do that one. Let's just, I'll do Tula. Okay, I'm going to go that far. Kara Walker and Celia Paul. She invites us along to the movies to see and think about Tar, to New York to reflect on spontaneous moments that connect us. She takes on a walk down Kilburn High Road in her beloved Northwest London and welcomes us to mourn with the passing of writers Joan Didion, Martin Amis, Hilary Mantel, Philip Roth, and Toni Morrison. She considers changes of government on both sides of the Atlantic and the meaning of the commons in all our lives. And from Margaret Atwood, The Book of Lives, November 4th, it's a memoir of sorts. Raised in ruggedly independent, scientifically minded parents, entomologist father, a dietitian mother, Margaret Atwood spent most of each year in the wild forest of northern Quebec. This child was unfettered and nomadic, sometimes isolated, but also thrilling and beautiful. From this unconventional start, Atwood unfolds the story of her life, linking seminal moments to the books that have shaped our literary landscape. From the cruel year that spawned Cat's Eye to the Orwellian 1980s Berlin, where she wrote The Handmaid's Tale. Pages bursting with bohemian gatherings, her magical life with the wildly charismatic life Graham Gibson, and a major political turning points. We meet poets, bears, Hollywood actors, and larger-than-life characters straight from the pages of an Atwood novel. Okay, we've got a couple of holiday-themed books because 'tis the season. We've got And to All a Good Bite from David Rosenfeld coming on October 14th. Andy Carpenter can't wait for Christmas. He doesn't care about the season unless it's football season. Andy is excited to finally relax and watch the games, but there's a murder related to an old case in Paterson, New Jersey that puts the games on pause. 2 years ago, a gas leak in an office building led to a tragic explosion that killed 7 people. Jeff Wheeler was there to pick up his girlfriend and ran into the building to help. All he heard was the barking of a dog, Rufus, and was able to save him. Initially, Rufus went to the Tara Foundation since his owner had died in the accident. But Andy met Jeff and allowed him to adopt Rufus. And since then, Jeff and Rufus have formed an unbreakable bond. But the accident never sat right with Jeff. He believed that one of the building's owners was responsible for the tragedy. Now the owner's been murdered and Jeff is arrested for the crime. Rufus is left with Jeff's sister, who begs Andy to take the case. Secret Christmas Libraries coming from Jenny Colgan. Ren Sutherland stumbled into her career as an antiquarian book hunter after finding a priceless antique book in her grand-aunt's attic. Now, as Christmas approaches, she's been hired by Jamie McKinnon, the surprisingly young and handsome laird of a Highland clan, whose ancestral holdings include a vast, crumbling castle. Family War suggests that the McKinnon family's collection includes a rare book so valuable it could save the entire estate. If only they knew where it was. Sounds like my house. Jamie needs Mirren to help him track down this treasure, which he believes is hidden in his own home. But on a train to the Highlands, Mirren runs into rival book hunter Theo Palliser and instantly knows that it's not a chance meeting. Almost as soon as Mirren and Theo arrive at the castle, a deep snow blankets the Highlands, cutting off the outside world. And stuck inside, the three of them plot their search as the wind whistles outside. Charles Todd, we've got A Christmas Witness coming on October 21st. In December 1921, being single and a new chief, Inspector Rutledge of Scotland Yards gets the short straw at Christmas time and is called upon by Chief Superintendent Markham to go to the Kentish house of a lord recovering from an attempt on his life. In bed with a concussion, the man is convinced someone is trying to kill him after he claims he was stuck by the hoof of a running horse whose rider never stopped to check on him. Struggling with his own demons from the war and misgivings about helping a man who, as Colonel, oversaw the suffering of those on the front lines from afar, Rutledge undertakes an uneasy investigation, and as the winter holiday approaches, he becomes increasingly convinced that nothing is as it seems. Debbie Maycumber, we've got A Ferry Merry Christmas. I love that this takes place on a ferry boat. Avery and Reed Brond grew up sharing a close-knit relationship. Even so, Avery finds herself exasperated by her brother's relentless matchmaking, which Reed can't resist teasing his sister. Facing their first Christmas without their beloved Grams, the woman who raised them, Reed and Avery decide to spend the holiday together at Reed's home. However, their plans take an unexpected turn when the ferry that Avery is traveling on stalls in the middle of Puget Sound, stranding its passengers and leaving Reed waiting a now undetermined length of time for her arrival. What is soon an inconvenience, threatens to ruin the plans of a number of commuters. But Avery and Reed soon discover that this unforeseen delay might end up being a perfectly timed blessing in disguise. From Richard Paul Evans, we've got The Christmas Stranger coming on November 4th. 3 years after losing his family in a Christmas Eve accident, grieving Paul Wanless has just given up on Christmas. He's given up on life. When a stranger knocks at his door claiming to be picking up a laptop, Paul allows him in, but soon discovers the man has a different mission. Mysterious stranger's name is Gabriel, and Paul finds himself opening up to his visitor. Gabriel tells him, "I wouldn't if I were you. It's not what you think." And then he departs without another word. Paul brushes the experience aside as some trick of the imagination until he crossed paths with a young widow and her bullied son, who also received a visit from Gabriel. Before he knows it, these two fill his life with chaos, commotion, and excitement he hasn't felt in years. And the three of them are convinced that Gabriel brought them together for a reason. But why and who and what really is this Christmas stranger? Okay, folks. Phew. Okay, we got through the books. Okay, now we've got my bets on selections. I've got 29 bets on selections so far, books I think that you'll enjoy. You can see the ones I've already done. Upcoming, we've got William Kent Kruger's Apostles' Cove, Catherine Faulkner's The Break-In, Days You Were Mine, the second book from Claire Leslie Hall that she came out with before Broken Country, Please Don't Lie by Christina Baker Klein. All this could be, and Ann Burt, I'm sorry. All This Could Be Yours by Hank Philippi Ryan, and What Happened to Lori Lovely by Sarah McCoy. So there's what we've got so far, and I will keep reading. This is the Book Reporter Talks to Video podcast. We just added Hank Philippi Ryan. We've got Sharon Kurtzman and Francesca Saratella. Those are the latest. I think to date we have about 230 Book Reporter Talks to video podcasts in our series. Okay, we've got these fall reading contests that have been running. The latest is up now. It's going to run until Thursday. It's Midnight Burning by Paul Levine. Enter by Thursday, September 18th at noon Eastern time. So there you've got the books. It's go out and enter. Our word of mouth contest, I mentioned this earlier. Tell us what you read in our word of mouth feature, and you could be entered to win both of these titles, The Academy by Ellen Hildebrand and All This Could Be Yours by Hank Philippi Ryan. Easy to enter, folks. Just go out and tell us what you're reading right now and what you like about it. And let's explore the world of Mary Benedict with your book group and win copies of her books. Okay, this is pretty interesting. One winner is going to win all 8 of Marie Benedict's solo novels, along with her novella, Agent 355. And 3 additional winners will win up to 12 copies of The Queens of Crime for their book group. You have to enter on Reading Group Guides by Wednesday, October 8th at noon. And we're looking to see how many of you have read these books and if you've read them with your group. It's a new kind of a project that we're working on, sort of like a crowdsource, like what people are reading these days. So go out and take a look at that feature and enter the win. Okay, you can also win up to 12 paperback copies of The Blue Hour by Paula Hawkins for your book group. If you go out and enter by Wednesday, October 8th at noon Eastern time, just go out and tell us what your group is reading this month, and you can be entered to win. It's pretty simple, and you could win one of 3 sets of 12 copies for your group. And we've got another contest out there. I tell you, folks, you have to be entered to win, but boy, do we have a lot going on. You can enter win one of 25 copies of The Librarians of Lisbon by Suzanne Nelson. This book came out earlier this year. It's got a lot of people talking about it and buzzing about it. So the publisher said they want to draw even more attention to it. So they're doing a special contest with us. So go out and enter the library to win a copy of The Librarians of Lisbon. Okay, what else have we got coming up for you? Thursday night, September 26th, that's 25th. It's a week from Thursday. Amy Neff is going to be joining us to talk about The Days I Loved You Most, which is one of my Book Reporter bets on picks. It's now in paperback. It's just a beautiful story. She's got quite a backstory to share about it. So make sure you go out and get a chance to read this. You definitely could read it by next Thursday and jump on and have a conversation with us. Sign-ups available on Book Reporter and Reading Group Guides. And Paula Hawkins is going to join us to discuss The Blue Hour, which is also a bets on pick, releasing in paperback on September 30th. She's with us on Wednesday, October 22nd at 8 o'clock. And you can sign up for this at tbrnetwork.com/events. And yep, we have another event for you. This one is going to be happening in the afternoon on Wednesday, November 19th. Claire Leslie Hall will discuss Broken Country, a Reese's Book Club pick and a Book Reporter bets on selection. And yes, we're going to touch on those 2 previous novels that she wrote as well. We're doing it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because she lives in the UK. And if she joined us at 8, it would be 1 in the morning. So we're doing that to be kind. And many of you love this book. We've been hearing a lot about this book. It's been on the bestseller list basically since it came out. So we think it's going to be one of the books of the year to be talking about, and we're looking forward to talking to her. Also, if you live in the New York area, I'm going to be interviewing her live in Paramus, New Jersey on Monday, October 6th at 7 o'clock in the evening. And I'm really looking forward to that. Also, join us for another special event. We're going on December 10th. Yes, mark your calendars early. We're going to have our reviewers join us to talk about their favorite books of 2025, and sign up is already available for that as well. Our next Bookaccino Live afternoon event, where we're going to look at different books, many of some the same. We're going to do October 7th through November 4th and peek ahead at December plus January 2026, which I can't believe we're already thinking about, on Wednesday, October 8th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Sign up on Bookreporter and reading group guides. And remember, the video is available afterwards as well. And the video is available for all these programs afterwards. You sign up, you'll at least get that later on. So here's to some great fall reading, and stay tuned for our winter preview event, which is going to be coming in January. So thank you to everybody for joining us tonight. We hope you found you some books that you want to get out there, read, enjoy, and talk about with others. So it's been really, really fun to have you joining us tonight. And thank you for being part of this.